Assalamualaikum. Hi, I am Siti Dewi Zatia binti Zahri. I will be presenting on a study which is an analysis of students' learning stress levels during the COVID-19 movement control order. The other members are Salma Anissa Abu Hassan as well as Sumaya Umar. We are from University Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia Front Institute, which is also known as UniKL MFI. We are currently dealing with COVID-19 pandemic. The Malaysian government has implemented a movement control order, also known as MCO or lockdown, in order to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Currently, we are not in total lockdown, yet some restrictions are still being implemented in order to curb the spread. So the MCO has led to the closure of higher education institutions. Universities are currently still closed. The teachers and the students will have to proceed classes online using online platform. They will have to adopt the online learning, which is previously was not a common practice. The students will have to adjust to these new norms in studying. They will have to shift from physical classroom, face-to-face interactions in the classrooms to online learning, which may cause stress to them. So these raise concerns toward the student stress level, and this study specifically would like to identify the students' perceived learning stress levels during the lockdown. The literature review in terms of the learning platform shift during the COVID-19 lockdown. According to Kumain, online learning is a process of learning and teaching using online platforms where instructors and students communicate virtually. This is what we are being doing. The classes are conducted online, so the teachers and the students will have to use a desktop, a laptop, a computer, or even handphone in order to conduct and follow classes. So the students will have to adapt with the online learning. This raise concerns to the students' mental health as they will have to suddenly switch to online learning system and follow classes under the lockdown restrictions. So few studies reported that students have experienced stress, anxiety, depressions, even some negative feelings such as fear, worry, and boredom due to the current situations, due to the lockdowns, as well as due to the online learning. But few studies reported recently that the impact related to the pedagogical aspects of online learning in terms of the quality and adaptations of the course may be more negative at the beginning due to the uncertainty of the situations. Bear in mind the lockdown, the COVID-19 online learning. So these have been around about more than a year. So there is a possibility that the students have adapted and prepared themselves for the situations. So this correlate with what been highlighted. These aspects may improve as time passes due to the teaching improvements on the teaching practice and the students' preparations. So next literature review is on perceived stress during COVID-19 pandemic. A study highlighted that social distancing measures and transition to online learning at higher educational institutes affect students psychologically, which lead to enormous stress. Stress is it is perceived as a non-coordination between the demands required in daily living and an individual's capability to respond. So the other studies, there are actually quite a number of studies which reported and highlighted that the students are facing and experiencing stress due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, as we can see here, Dewi stated that university encouraged students are prone to feel loneliness, and they experience high rates of anxiety and stress compared to general populations. And these feelings, can further worsen during COVID-19 due to the social isolations, uncertainty, and abrupt transitions. Here I have highlighted a few more studies which highlighted the stress faced by the students during the COVID-19 pandemic. And the stress is actually correlated with adaptations of the new norms in daily routines, as well as in teachings and learning, as we are also have to adapt to the online learning, not only adapting to the pandemic but also to online learning. Okay, now let's take a look at the methodology of our study. Our study is a quantitative study which uses convenient sampling method, in which we distribute a survey questionnaire to UniKL MFI students. 126 bachelor students responded to the questionnaire that we distribute. The students are from different courses, semesters, as well as different credit hours. In terms of the study instrument, we use online questionnaire. The online questionnaire consists of 10 questions, and the questions were adapted from Perceived Stress Scale, also known as PSS-10 by Cohen. This scale is widely used in evaluating stress levels. However, the objective of our study is specifically to identify the stress levels in learning, specifically in learning. Therefore, we would have to amend the questions in order to match our study objective, and we rename it as a Perceived Learning Stress Scale, PLSS. In tabulating and analyzing our data, we use SPSS, and we use likelihood ratio analysis to know if the student has stress or not. Okay, now let's proceed with the results and discussion. Okay, so the first table is on demographic characteristics of respondents. So here, as you can see, the levels of learning stress were categorized into 3 based on Cohen's, which is low, moderate, as well as high stress levels. But in this research, the categories are termed as stress bands for clearer analytical identifications. So the frequency of students responding to each bands were recorded and calculated to produce an overall pictures of the students' learning stress levels as displayed in table 1. In order to identify the significant associations between the credit hours and semester toward the student stress levels, so in the analysis of credit hours and learning stress levels, the p-value derived from 0.3 at 4, which is not significant, as the p-value is less than 0.05, but for the analysis of credit hours, the p-value is more, which is 0.3 at 4, so it is not significant. And in the analysis of semester and learning stress levels, the p-value was 0.025, which is less than 0.05, which make it significant. So there is a significant association between the semesters and the students' stress level. And if we see closely based on the semester here, low learning stress is recorded from semester 1 until semester 4, and no occurrence from semester 5 onwards. So this resonate credit hours analysis, as mostly the frequency is noted at less than 10%, with the highest of 16.7% in semester 2. So here, that is why it's 0% here. The students in semester 5 and above, they were not experiencing low stress. They actually experiencing moderate as well as high stress. So this concluded, as the durations of semester progress, the learning stress increase for the students. Okay, table 2 is the students' responses to the perceived learning stress scale. So these are the 10 questions that we adapted from Coherence, and we name it as PLSS. So let's take a look at the result and the discussions. So from the tables, most students experience stressful emotions. This is based on the assumption that the students' responses are showing tendency of leaning towards sometimes and upwards frequency and always. So due to the answers, it can be concluded that the students actually experience stressful emotions. Students felt upset, stressed, and angry due to the online platform shift. So we have few questions here asking either they are feeling upset, stressed, and angry, and most of the answers, leaning towards sometimes and upwards on this. And the students felt that they were unable to control the way of studying, to cope with assignments, and to overcome learning difficulties. So other than they felt upset, they felt stressed, they felt angry, they also felt that they are unable, to control the way they study, unable to cope with the assignments, and to overcome the learning difficulties. This is based on the response from the questions here. Students, moreover, develop positive emotions. So other than the negative emotions that they experience, they also develop positive emotions. This is also based on the response here. Students felt that they were able to handle online learning stress, that the study is on track, able to control learning stress, and confident to manage study-related problems. So even though they experience as I mentioned, the negative emotions, but they also felt that they will still be able to handle the stress. They still will be able to control the learning stress and will be able to manage the study related problems. So the significant associations between the levels of learning stress and the changes incurred with the lockdown. These are based on the response. Based on the response from the questionnaire gathered. So it shows the significant associations. That the levels of the learning stress increase. Due to the lockdown. However, the third lockdowns enable the students to become more mentally aware and prepared for what is to come. I also mentioned earlier that this is MCO3. This is, it's been a prolonged lockdown. So it's been around for more than a year, the lockdown, the pandemic, the online learning. So somehow the students have adapted, the students have prepared. So this is also based on the response, received from the questionnaire. The last table, students' perceived learning stress scale. So this result exhibits the disproportionate stress experience that heavily tip the scale towards moderate stress and high stress. So majority of the students, they experience stress, and in terms of the levels, it's actually between moderate to high stress. And the pandemic uncertainty and restrictive lockdown condition has increased stress and anxiety among university students. So it's correlate with what's been highlighted by the previous researchers, that the pandemic, the lockdown has actually increased the student stress and anxiety, specifically among university students. So as for the conclusions, we conclude that more students experience learning stress during the lockdown. This is based on the question that we gathered. A significant association was discovered on the semester that students are enrolled in with the level of stress they experience. The students, they experience stressful emotions. They experience upset. They were upset. They were angry. They were, they were stressed. Yeah. However, apart from these negative emotion, they also develop positive emotions. Yeah, and this is because they have adapted to the prolonged lockdown and the online learning. They have prepared themselves. They have foresee, that they will have to go. They will have to proceed with the online learning. So therefore, they have prepared themselves. So even though they are stressful, yet they are still being able to control and to manage the stress. These are the references for our studies. Thank you.